All right, we are calling our meeting for the Board of Directors for March. We are calling it right now at 6:01 p.m. Welcome to everybody that is joining us live and joining us virtually. So glad to see everyone today. We're going to begin with a roll call. And so when I call your name, if you could please let us know that you're present. Scott Graves.
Here.
Susan Davis.
Here.
Blake Flickner.
Here.
Frank Burleson.
Here.
Jenna McCord. Okay. Jolene McBain.
Okay.
Jessica Zambrano.
Here.
Chris Stewart.
Here.
Alicia Baker.
Here.
And David Howard.
Here.
And I'm Drew Grace, and I'm here. So we have a quorum, and we can certainly proceed. So I would like to ask David, would you mind opening this up in a word of prayer?
Absolutely. Can I take this up?
Yes.
Our Heavenly Father God, we are grateful for the opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you for gathering us all safely. Lord, we take it very seriously, the honor that you have given us to sit at this table and to discuss these things. Pray that you would give us wisdom as we address all of the items listed on the agenda, and I pray that you would bless our time. We ask this in your name, Jesus. Amen.
All right. Well, first order of business will be agenda topic comments. Are there any comments at this time? All right, no comments. Second will be general public comments. Do we have any general public comments? No? Okay. All right, so the next item will be the acceptance of the board minutes. So you guys should have those. That was the February 23rd, 2021 board minutes. Is there any discussion on the board minutes? Do I have a motion to accept the February 23rd, 2021 board minutes?
I move we accept the February 23rd board member minutes as written.
All right, thank you, David. We have a motion to accept the board minutes for February 23rd. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alicia got it first, so we'll let Alicia be the second. All in favor of accepting the February 23rd, 2021 board minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Majority has it. They are accepted. All right, the next item we'll be looking at is evaluating how well our school is achieving cost containment. And for that, we have Mr. Jinzu.
Good evening, board and staff here. We provide a standardized financial dashboard and financial reports in your packet. We're going to start with the dashboard for the ending period of February 28th, 2021. We ended the period with, okay, by the way, this is your 6 month mark. So we passed the 6 month mark now. You ended about $674,000 surplus. That's including about $300,000 depreciation. If we take out the depreciation, you'll be at almost $1 million surplus for the 6 month period, which is extraordinary, outstanding. And I think that the bigger beneficiary, a big benefactor are some of the COVID expense got reimbursed, and also some of the activity was canceled during the COVID period. So we are doing very well financially, and we ended the period with 229 days cash on hand, which is outstanding there. We continue to maintain a very low admin ratio, which is at about 12% for ending 2021. We do not have any student and staff ratio issues there. And our current ratio is at 3.4 for ending February period. Our enrollments continue pretty steady and holding around about 1250. Our ADA is at about 1245. Our bond debt service coverage ratio is at 2.19 compared to our benchmark at 1.1, which is great. And Kayla and I hosted a annual bond investor call in March the 8th. And it went very well. We have a couple investors asking questions. And again, our financial performance are just very outstanding. They didn't really have many questions there. And they did ask questions about COVID preparation as well as student academic performance, which we will not be rated from the state for 2 years. Yeah, next year. That's all on the dashboard. In your packet, we provide a consolidated statement of activities, also called income statement for ending period 2028. You can see line by line there as far as the budget, the year-to-date budget, and actual, as well as the comparison between actual and year-to-date budget. Again, we're at the benchmark 50. You can see the total revenue, you ended a little bit over $6 million. So that's 4% higher than what we have a budget for this period. And then if you look at all the way to the bottom half of the page, you ended the period with $5.4 million expenditure, total expenditure, compared to we budgeted about similar amount. So the expenditure is in line with what we budgeted, with about 1% saving there. So that's where you see all the surplus on the two separate lines there. We continue to provide you with not only the required budgetary number by the TA, also a supplement information by object code on the very bottom of your income statement. You can see payroll, professional service, material supplies, and another operating cost and the debt service, line by line, that gives you a more detailed reading on that. Two more reports following the consolidated are the campus report. We also provide you with Dallas campus as well as Duncanville campus, similar format for their performance there. But you can see both schools are running surplus, which is great. Also in your packet will provide a preliminary balance sheet. That's your statement of financial position, if you would. We have about $1.8 million cash that's in the saving account. We have a little bit less than $150,000 in the investment account, and $4.2 million in the operating cash. Again, we will need to talk to the Finance Committee on what we're going to do with the large balance of the operating cash once we start walking toward the end of the fiscal year. The reason we're not in a big hurry is because there's really not many very good vehicles we can park our cash. And the investment market are providing very low interest rate. It's almost nothing. And we are also restricted. Only can invest into very limited resources. We cannot go to the stock market. We cannot buy mutual funds. We can only buy the investment portfolio that designated by the state and federal government, because those are public funds. So again, I have not bring this up to Finance Committee because there's really no reason to worry about this now. And you ended the period with $27 million total asset. That includes about $19 million fixed asset, our building, some of the construction in progress. And we have about $181,000 accounts payable, primarily just the bill that paid, bill that due in February and paid in March. And we have about $360,000 accrued wages. We which is payable there. And you can see the $1.3 million line there. I insert for you to know we got paid in advance from the state. Now that's $1.3 million we have not earned as far as the revenue goes. I mean, cash flows. That gives you a total about $23 million total liability, or a net asset for ending February 28. It sits at $4.4 million. Another chart I want to pay your attention is the cash account balance report. I start providing to you the August 31st, 2020, which is 6 months ago, what the balance, what cash balance look like. So when, like I said, always, once we pass 6 month mark, you're going to start seeing the comparison between what you ended last fiscal year and where you're tracking on a monthly basis for the rest of the 6 months. So you can see the number. So we ended about a little bit over $4 million, but this period in February, we have $6.2 million in the bank. Any questions on the financial reports? You guys are operating a very wealthy school. Put that way.
For your work.
Yeah, thank you.
I also believe at this time we need to approve the Form 990. So that was given to all of us ahead of time. Do we have any discussion in regards to the Form 990?
Yeah, except to approve the design. I think you guys are doing me a favor. I realize it would be a best practice for you guys to approve it, but you're the governing board. Even though our form itself did not say you need to approve, it just say you need to review. So from next year on, when I work with the auditor to prepare 990, I will change the wording on the schedule O. So it will say that the board will approve and review and approve. Again, the number on the 990 is a carbon copy from your audit that you approved back in November.
I think to Chris's point, I think you're asking to be approved in financial reports first. Is that what you're asking?
Said accept items. I didn't know if we needed to actually formally accept it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I appreciate that. So do I have a motion to approve the monthly financial statements for February 2021? All right, so a motion is on the table to approve the financial statements for February 2021. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a second. So all in favor of approving the financial statements for February 2021, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. All right, so moving forward to the approval of Form 990. Is there any discussion on the 990 form?
I would like to add that it's an impressive body of work.
There's a lot to look at.
I work with a nonprofit. I'm thankful to not be the CFO. Thank you. You know, one comment I often let board know is that Southern Cross carries the very few auditing firms will pick up the data at the time they were doing the audit. So there's no delay, and there's a continuity between the audit and the dynamic. It flows very smoothly. Versus some another auditing firm I used to work with deal with 3-4 months later to prepare 990, even though they have deal with that extension. But by the time they start preparing 990, you almost start walking to the next year's budget. The timing is always kind of off. And I'm always very happy with Southern Cross. They always do a good job of giving the data to us very quickly and with much less
I move that we accept the form 990.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. All in favor of approving the Form 990, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it, it's unanimous. Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Smith, who will be giving us her superintendent report.
Okay, I'm going to take that off so you can hear me better. The first thing we want to mention is just our COVID protocol, and this has come up because the governor lifted the mask mandate. And so I had two parents question us continuing to wear masks and a faculty member. So Drew and I just thought it would be wise to bring this to the board and talk about this. So my recommendation and what I'm asking is that we continue to wear masks at school, masks or shields, because we have had such great success with not spreading the disease at school. In fact, we really cannot even find a case where we feel like one child has spread to another child. We have had many people who have had COVID, but we've quarantined, we've traced, and we feel like we've really been able to contain the spread inside our school. And so I just feel like it's a little bit early to lift that right now. I would like to see us get to the end of this school year, and hopefully we can come back in the fall and not be wearing our facial protection. But my recommendation is that we continue to wear the mask. And I did already send that to the parents, but as a board, that's up to you guys. You can change that because it really is a board decision. So does anybody have any comments or discussion?
When we say end of school year, does that include summer school and all the way until August?
Well, we really haven't talked about summer school. That's something we haven't really broached that topic yet. I'm just really asking for the end to the end of May or the first week of June is when we end this year. I don't know. The principals and I can talk about what we think about summer school. I would guess we would want to continue through the summer. But we haven't had discussion about that yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any comments other than I support that decision. I think that, I know with vaccines, but the kiddos are not eligible for that. And like you said, I think it's less. And the fact that we have not had so many issues in the school, and so I hate to see year in something changing that. So it seems like what we can do.
I would just like to add that what you're doing is out of an abundance of caution, and you're dealing with the lives of children and teachers. You want to be cautious rather than adventurous. I think there's wisdom in it. In as much as we all would rather not be wearing a face shield and mask tonight, and maybe the governor's mandate wouldn't allow us to do that. There's wisdom in maintaining what is worth. And until there's the right time, and I don't know how to quantify when that will happen, but I think we all know what's it.
For me, I am, well, already know, not really a huge proponent of masks, but I think for our teachers, they would feel more comfortable and have respect for them, that I think we should continue as we have done, because they are the ones that have to be on the front lines, as if you will, and I just really think if this is something that makes them feel more comfortable, then we should do it for them.
Anybody else have a comment? A question?
They asked me.
Typically, we comments. Okay. We can, well, if you guys are okay with that. Go ahead, sir.
But those of you who don't know, my name is Tony Pearson. I sub here quite regularly. My wife and I both sub here quite regularly. And I would agree with this recommendation because not everyone has had the vaccine. And we are putting our kids' lives at risk. We're putting ourselves' lives at risk. So, wearing a mask, yes, it is uncomfortable. There are times I don't want to wear it. There's times I forget it. I do agree with her recommendation. We just have to be cautious and cognizant of what's going forward. And this will pass. This too shall pass.
Sir?
It sounds like it is, for some feedback, that's the exception.
Right, yeah, that's a good point, Alicia. I heard from 2 parents that asked that they not continue to wear masks, but I heard from about 30 who said thank you that we are continuing to wear masks. So I think the majority of parents feel more comfortable that their students are wearing masks at school. So I did not share that earlier, but I did hear from parents saying thank you so much. We really feel it's important. We think it's too early.
Do you think that it might change, right? We just started, some people made decisions based on the announcement that that was going to continue, right? If they wanted to do this waiting period. So, you know, I also think there would be some more feedback about changing that and people use that to make decisions throughout the year. Because it does seem like there's more children. I don't know. The drop-off line to me, it feels like there's more people here. I don't know if that's just my own perception.
More students back in school?
Yes.
So we now have around 70% of our students back, which is the highest it's been all year. We started school with about 50% in person, and over each 9 weeks, we've gained more, and we had quite a few, especially our seniors, which I was so glad to see. A lot of our seniors have come back to finish the school year in person. So we do have more students in our classrooms now, because we're about 70%.
See, that even further supports your decision.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point.
Any other discussions or comments? So, Ms. Smith, I know that we need to vote on this, correct? And so the vote is to what?
I think
Your
it would
current
be.
protocol? Okay.
Right.
All right.
So are we going to vote on, can we go ahead and say through the summer?
And if that's what you guys feel we should do.
I mean, for me, if we're going to take it, look at it at the end of the school year, see whether we can do it for next year or not. But I think we ought to carry it through the summer. Because I know there's still a lot of people that haven't had vaccines or haven't had the opportunity to have vaccines. And I think it would be important to have that through the summer so that we can make sure we get as many adults vaccinated as we can. And again, minimize the, and there's not going to be that many people that for summer school it's going to be affected. It's really not going to affect that many people, but if we keep going to do it, I think that we ought to add that as part of voting there.
I could make that argument because if there's not that many kids in summer school, that it's not as necessary.
Right. I'm again thinking that the teachers and the kids are in summer and the people are moving around more, so the teachers are more successful. Being, the kids bringing something to school.
Okay. So, any other thoughts on that as far as the extending that into the summer? Is there any concern for any board members?
I think I would lean more towards playing it by ear and maybe reevaluating in May, 2 months from now. See, as the vaccines roll out, if it does roll out as quickly as they are anticipating it would be, then maybe our scenarios totally different mid to late May. We have a better handle on it. I mean, if we're really just talking about a 5-minute blip on the agenda for the board meeting in May versus locking ourselves into something that might.
Sure. And what we could say is that Kayla, before she changes anything, come back.
Come back.
She can certainly come back to us.
Yeah.
So what we could do at this point is make a motion to keep the current COVID protocols in place until we hear news of any other changes. Everybody comfortable with that? Motion?
I feel fine with that too. And I know that they're going to be opening up the vaccine for, I think.
Yes, Jessica, please.
Through the COVID
Am I cutting out?
Okay,
protocol.
okay. So Jessica has made a motion to approve or to keep the current COVID-19 protocols laid out by Mrs. Smith. Do I have a second? Second. All right, thank you, Scott. All in favor of approving the current COVID-19 protocols laid out by Mrs. Smith, please say aye.
Aye.
Please say nay. The ayes have it, and that is passed.
Okay, the next item is really just an information item. As you know, we are working through transitioning our board policies to the policies produced by our attorney, Joe Hoffer's office. And Joe is here tonight. We're glad he's visiting us.
Yes, thank you, Joe.
And so this is a work in progress, and our governance team is going through this. So we are currently have addressed the 100 series. So I just wanted to say tonight that we're hoping the plan is to get that 100 series that has been updated for the governance team to really see that, look over it, and get it to the whole board several weeks before our next meeting. And then hopefully you can look over it. And if you have questions, come ready with your questions at the next meeting. And if you feel comfortable, vote so that we can move forward. But that's not, I mean, we've discussed that we may not be able to move that fast, but it would be nice if we could do that. So just information to let you know that that is what we're working toward. Any discussion about that? Okay. All right. The next item is also information. I just wanted to give you an update of where we are on the elementary building. The mitigation team, I feel like it's done a really good job for us. They are finished now, except they have to come back and address the kitchen area in that building. But all the rest, the flooring has all been taken out. All of the walls have been either cut or taken all the way out, and
Wow.
the insulation. So it's clean now, and we're ready to move forward with renovation. I'm still, to be honest, dealing with the insurance company has been slow because I know that they are overwhelmed with all of the issues. So I still don't have a report back from them about the, financial number that we're looking for. And so I have not secured a renovation team yet. I have 2 people that I'm talking to and that I've gotten bids from, but I just don't have insurance information back yet. And I don't want to make a decision until I have all of our information. So that's where we are in the process. I feel like we've made a lot of progress. The mitigation team got in early and were able to really dig in and get it all done in the last few weeks. So I feel good about what has happened so far. We're just going to move forward with the rebuild now. Any questions about what's going on there? I just have to give some kudos to our Dallas elementary team too. Some really challenging
Just one more wrench, right?
yeah, situations. They're all upstairs and in the portables, but hey, those teachers have just pitched in and we have carried on. And it's been good. Crazy, a little crazy, but it's been good. They're all in their classes doing school, so it's all good. And the next item goes right along with that. With having to make the changes in the Dallas Elementary building, we lost our auditorium and our cafeteria. So we no longer have places to gather our students. When they get there in the morning, before they dismiss in the afternoon, we use the auditorium. They don't have a cafeteria to eat in. So we have had to ask the teachers to be with their class every morning. Instead of them going to the auditorium and then dismissing to their classroom, they have to go straight to their classrooms. So we added 30 minutes to the teacher's schedule in the morning, and we had to add about 30 minutes to their schedule in the afternoon because they don't have anywhere to send them. They have to stay in their classrooms until the car line is finished. They have to eat in their classrooms because they have no place to go to eat their lunch. So we are having to compensate our teachers for that extra time. They're spending about, most of the teachers, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half extra duty each day. I put this on as an action item, but then realized that you guys approved the waiver for me to spend money that I needed to spend with the storm waivers. So we really don't need to vote on this, but I do want to make you aware that by the end of the year, we're going to be spending about $70,000 on that extra duty for those teachers. It comes out about $67,000 to $70,000. So it's just necessary. We didn't really have a choice. The other choice was to go completely virtual and not have any students in person. And I just didn't feel like that was the right option for our students. So I think it's worth $70,000 to get our kids here in person and carry on with school. But we are going to have to spend that amount of money.
Question?
Yes.
So that'll be retroactive from the point when it started?
Yes. Right. So Grants, you know, is now working in HR for us. So he and I have worked together to come up with a little pay schedule for the extra amount of money that going back to when they first started their duties to the end of the year. Yeah.
I just would say thank you to all the teachers and Joni for all your due diligence in this. I mean, this is not easy, so thank you.
Yes, thank you.
When we face a challenge, you know, these principals and teachers do a great job.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so since we don't need to vote on that, did anybody have any more questions about that extra pay? Okay, the next item is our academic calendar for next school year, and really what the board has to do is approve our start date and our end date. That's your job, is to approve when we start and end school. And we really had put a calendar together that the principals and I really liked for this school year, and then we ended up changing it because COVID. So we went back to the calendar that we had put together for this year, our original calendar, before we had to change it. So that's what you have in front of you. We'll be starting on August the 16th and ending on May the 26th on this calendar. Does anybody have questions?
Any questions or discussions on this?
I just wanted to say, I really like this calendar. I was really excited to see it. Just knowing other districts in the area that are keeping kids in school longer next year. And I feel like for us especially, we haven't missed a beat from what I can tell, and there's really no need to do that. Extend out teachers and students longer next year.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And I think, you know, we all are here because we believe in the mission of the school, which is to give time back to families. So if we extend our calendar, then we're not really doing what we said we were going to do, right? And we're going to try to put together a program this summer to help our children catch up, our students catch up. So I think we're gonna be okay.
Great. Any other comments or questions regarding the calendar? Okay, do I have a motion on the table to accept the 2021-2022 UME Preparatory Academy calendar?
Move to accept the calendar with its start date and end date that's presented.
Chris, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Susan. All in favor of approving the 2021-2022 UME Preparatory Academy calendar as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? All right, the ayes have it, and it is approved.
Okay, the last item I have on my agenda is a new leave share program for our faculty and staff. We have talked about doing this for several years, and so Brance and I have talked further about it and put together a plan that our faculty and staff can donate days into a pool. And then when we have someone who has a catastrophic illness or event, they can pull days from that pool. And a lot of organizations do this, so it's nothing new, but it's something that UME hasn't done before. So we really think it will be beneficial. There's a case this year that that person could benefit greatly from this. And I think that's really what pressed us to move forward, because we have a situation this year that the person really needed this type of program. And there have been other cases in years past, so I think it will be helpful to our employees. But I do want to hear your discussion about it and would like a vote on this before we implement.
Question I had was the benefits of a pool versus just making that time available as a standard, number, as part of the benefits. Is it just because of cost, or what's the pros and cons?
Yeah, they have a standard number of sick leave and personal leave days that they get. But in an extreme case, they run out of those days. So the way it's set up is they would use the days they have first. And then if they still have a need and they met the requirements laid out in this, they could take days from the pool. We have an employee now that has had to be out over 2 months. So no one has enough days in their contract to cover all of that. And that's what this would cover. It's just extreme situations.
How many days?
It depends on how many days they work, because we have teachers that work anywhere from 1 day a week to all 5 days. So I believe the standard contract is a 5-day person has 5 sick leave days and 2 personal days for the year.
And then with this, they'll automatically donate some of those hours?
They don't have to donate. They can choose to donate 2 of their days to the pool. But they don't have to participate if they don't want to. So they get to choose.
But they have to give into the benefit.
They do. They have to give 2 days, and then you can see the schedule on there. Then they can pull days from the pool.
Is that reset at the end of the school year, or do the
Yes.
days continue?
I have a question.
Does anybody have any questions or further comments on this?
Can y'all hear me?
So what happens if somebody is donated, but we had several extreme cases and there is no pool left, and somebody then needs additional time?
When did the HR person ask me a question that I don't know the answer to, Susan? I don't know if the pool ran out, that we just go ahead and let them have the number of days that they should be allowed to have. That's what my gut tells me, my heart maybe, but I don't really know. I don't know. It may be spelled out in here and I don't remember that.
I didn't see it.
You do have limitations. We can discuss in closed session on what you're allowed to do.
Okay. So the answer is, I don't really know. Maybe.
You can't make a gift of public funds, basic thing, and giving leave that's not.
Giving them days that
Yeah,
you
that
don't have.
they haven't earned by policy as a gift, so there's a public school, there's limits on what you can do.
So I guess
Pool
that's
allows
your
you to
answer.
share amongst employees, but if the pool runs out, the pool runs out.
Would it be possible to, if the pool were to run out, to offer, so we're limiting it to 2 days, but if we're having through the year and I didn't participate, could people give more?
Yeah.
To fill the pool back up if it had run down?
You could have people give more that they've accrued. You couldn't create something new moving forward. You can't create something retroactive. So you could create, if people have leave that they've earned, you say, hey, the pool's running low, can people contribute time? They would do that, but you can't create something new that has retroactive effect.
See, it helps to have your attorney here.
So, just for my knowledge, and I apologize, I don't know this, but on their normal sick days, they don't go from year to year. They just have 5. And if
They can
leave-
carry over, I think it's 2 from the previous year.
Okay. So is there a reason why we couldn't allow this to carry over to the next year, or?
I don't know that either.
It does become an encumbrance that you're carrying forward as a liability on your books.
I would think you don't want them to collect, I don't know, I mean. Right, because if you just let people continue to carry over, you know.
I don't mean everybody carry over more than 2 days. I mean the pool carry over.
Oh, the pool itself carried to the next year.
I think to a certain limit. I mean, if it was just perpetuity forever and ever, I mean, that could get a big pool next year. Joe, that could be a large liability on the books if it was just a couple thousand hours after 10, 12 years. And if we had a cap at a level that we felt we were comfortable with, then after that, stuff rolled off 400 hours, 500 hours.
It would seem that you mentioned a moment ago what your heart would like to choose. I think we all would have a similar sentiment. It would seem that the policy as it's presented is sound, and if we get that eventuality, we could bring it to the executive committee type of thing and have a conversation and go to a board meeting and say, could we do this? And we can seek legal counsel at that time.
Yeah. So you're talking about looking at revising the policy.
No, it's sound as it is, but if you have that eventuality occur and you don't have enough hours, you want to have a different solution, it could be an executive committee conversation, a board conversation,
Okay.
legal counsel. That way we can move forward with this, perhaps.
Oh, I see.
I have a question though that the teachers might ask before they, but since you're presenting this to the staff and we're asking, before they donate, I think someone might ask, well, what happens if I need it? I mean, and there's nothing there. So I just think that, I don't know, having the answers to those questions might help people make an informed decision on whether they participate or not.
Yeah.
When would you offer this to the teachers or to the staff at the beginning of the year?
Right. Well, normally it would be offered at the very beginning of the year. But we've talked about starting it now, if it gets approved, to end the year. And they wouldn't have to give 2 days at this point. But that, that's just something that we've discussed. But I like what Joe said, if the pool starts to get low, if you go to your faculty and staff and say the pool is low, if you want, if you want to donate another day, then you can supplement.
I also like what David suggested, which is allowing a rollover to a certain
To a
point.
certain
I mean, I understand that it's a liability on our books, but I think as far as liabilities go, this is one that really helps our staff and our teachers. And I think that that's, especially because I think you have more of a chance to keep having this problem where you have to keep appealing to people to donate. And they're like, well, I donated last year and my days just went away. I think if we had at least up to a certain amount, a cap of, I don't know, and maybe Jean can help us with something of what is reasonable.
Yeah.
Then we could have kind of the best of both. We don't carry just a limited amount of liability, but we carry some so that if we have a really bad year, or if we have really bad situation for a couple of people, then there is something there.
I would say historically, I've been here 6 years, and there probably only been 3 cases that somebody could have used this. So I don't think we would use the pool up as quickly as maybe you guys are thinking. And this year, none of the COVID, when people have had to be out for COVID, none of those days counted against them.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's really just for extreme situations.
I understand. I just think you'll have better adoption for your people if it doesn't just go away.
If they're not worried.
Yeah,
So-
because if
For
we
guarantees.
If y'all looked at, so I know I've got another school that's been looking at a sick leave pool. They started actually last year. And it got very difficult with COVID. People weren't willing to donate to it because, well, I might need those if I get COVID or a family member gets COVID and it's bad COVID. So that school has said this hasn't worked out. Are you all offering a short-term and long-term disability policy?
We are. Yes.
So some of this is designed to be a gap filler for the first 14 days. If someone has a short-term disability, that the first 14 days are not qualified for, right? That's how most short-term plans work. So you're just filling the gap for that first 14 days, then your insurance kicks in, and they're getting 60% of their income. It's not everything, but it's what you can provide. And it's really catastrophic illnesses. But I do think you should consider, I mean, the plan is sound as it is, but we're in a really uncertain time right now where any one of us could get ill and get seriously ill from this virus. Now, hopefully it doesn't happen, but your teachers are thinking the same thing. So are we paying for the short-term disability policy and the long-term policy? Is employer paid, or is this something they have to opt into?
I don't remember.
That's something some of the other schools have looked at is, well, why don't we as the employer pay it and get everyone in it? And you'll find that through some of the plan benefits, they're actually pretty affordable. Because it's not like life insurance or health insurance. It's just disability insurance. I would look into that. Of course, my recommendation would be to adopt the plan. It's sound. Be prepared for tweaks to it. What you're going to find, Kayla, is if you're running low on time in the pool, you have to act on it in advance because we can't do things retroactive. So you got to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
And then look at your benefits to see if there's other ways we can incur expenses like plussing up your disability insurance where it's employer paid. Maybe we can increase the benefit, which would help everyone out.
Yeah.
And that way you're not carrying the liability forward because it gets really complicated when you're administering the leave pool. And then sometimes the leave pool comes out where people apply, but they're not eligible because it's not a qualifying illness. Or you only have so many days in there and you have to decide. And it can create when people are desperate, it can create a lot of uncertainty where if you say, hey, this is the insurance we have, we're paying for it, it's a little bit easier to administer. And then this becomes just a gap filler, fill that initial 14-day gap so they qualify for the disability.
Great.
That makes sense.
I think there's been a lot of good discussion. I think that, as has been mentioned, I think that the program, as it says, is sound. And there's certainly some things that could be looked at, in addition to that. But if there's no further discussion, is there a motion on the table to approve the UME Prep Leave Sharing Program as stated?
I don't want to derail anything. My only thought is, would it make sense to have a conversation around pros and cons of, for example, what would it cost to let people roll over up to 15 days, right? Get them to that point where they've accumulated for themselves a cap. So in a catastrophic event, it gets them there without the need of a pool. And what's the cost of that versus this? It could be this is much cheaper. And maybe also, I don't know if it's even possible.
So talking as an employer, my preference would be for them not to ever be able to roll over that many days because they can use those at any time and will if they want to. And I really don't want a teacher to have 15 days in their bank, basically, to miss every year. Whereas if they use this, they have to provide evidence that they are in catastrophic need of that many days. I mean, I would prefer not to have teachers or anybody who worked for me have that many days. I really don't want them out of the classroom that long. So that's my input.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. So is there a motion on the table to approve the UME prep leave sharing program as stated?
I move to approve the UME prep leave sharing program.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Blake. All in favor of approving the UME prep leave sharing program, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed, please say nay. Okay, the ayes have it, and it is approved. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you, Mrs. Smith, for your report. All right, at this time, we are going to move into the PAP report, and that is mine. So if you want to look at your PAP report statement that was included in this, I did add a few things that I wanted to talk about as far as some past events. So the Duncanville campus has been very busy, and several things have been going on. Number one, they've had the Celebrate Reading Week, which has been March 1st through 5th. And those students that participated in that, I learned, were put into a drawing for a prize, and the winner received a book of their choice from Scholastic Books. So pretty cool event. They also had their PAC pizza lunch fundraiser. So each campus has their own PAC. And so Duncanville has their PAC, and they did a pizza lunch fundraiser, and it was very successful. Almost all the students participated. And so kudos to the PAC team there and to Duncanville. And then there was a hand sanitizer donation on that same day. So the church that is the owner of the building actually donated a lot of individual hand sanitizers. Is that correct? And Shannon was able to hand those out to the parents through the car line. So that was a great gesture by the church and the school. All right, so some great happenings that are going on. We are starting, the Dallas campus that is starting a shoe drive. You might say, what in the world is a shoe drive? Well, believe it or not, there is an organization that will pay you for old shoes. And so what's going to be happening is there's going to be kind of a donation process where the campuses are going to be able to participate in this. My understanding is that the goal is to raise about $1,000 within these shoes. Every pair of shoe is paid by the pound. And so there'll be 60 days to complete that. And what I learned is that there's going to be a contest. Is that correct, Dallas principals? Okay, there's a serious contest going on right now. And it's going to be who can donate the most shoes. Now, there's going to be a shoe donation for students, but then also one for teachers. So it's going to be very interesting to see who will win that one out. But
That doesn't sound very fair, high school against elementary. Some of those high school kids shoot.
they're
Everyone elementary shoe.
it's taking it. You know what, elementary, they're tough competitors, right? They're feisty. They'll go find people's shoes, right?
Plus they have 10 pairs in a year.
That's true. They burn.
That's right. Add up. You get mom and dads, and so hey, donate some shoes, guys. You got some old shoes? Donate them. Okay, so some upcoming events. So this coming Friday at the Duncanville campus is Unity Friday, and all are welcome to come participate in that. I actually went to the last one, and it was a blast, right? David was there, and Susan was there, and it was great to just see the students celebrated, and one of the teachers celebrated. So you're definitely invited. At the Dallas campus, there's several things coming up. There is going to be the college discussion with the juniors. And that is coming up this Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Dr. Blake Killingsworth is going to be giving that discussion. The junior college talk will be April the 15th. And I think I got that crossed. I think that might be the seniors. And then Teacher Appreciation Week is going to be coming up April the 26th through the 30th. And that's a pretty cool time. You know, it's a way that Pat gives back and really appreciates, you know, all of the teachers. They typically will buy them snacks, oftentimes lunches. And so it should be a really good time. If you can serve, I'd encourage you to do so. There's definitely a lot of great serving opportunities. Just reach out to Kristen Killingsworth, who's the PAC president. So that should be good. One other thing I just wanted to mention is that the parent school board process, rep process is underway. So nominees are being taken. There's going to be an interview process in April. And then the goal is by May to announce who that new rep will be. So just to keep you guys informed on that. And that is my PAC report.
What's the timing on the Unity Friday?
It's right at the beginning of the day.
8 a.m.?
You guys started.
What's the timing on the Unity
We
Friday?
start between 8:20, 8:25.
Okay, at this point, we are going to have some committee updates, and we're going to start with the Grievance Committee, and that is Mrs. Susan Davis.
Thank you. So the grievance committee was looking at the grievance process. And what you're getting right now is just an old versus new. I always, when I do policies at work, I always try to do it this way because it just helps me visualize what's different. So I'm not going to go, because I gave this to you, I know it was over last night, but I did give it to you a little bit in advance and I only have 10 minutes, so I'm not going to go in huge detail. But what I will say is that the old policy didn't have a purpose necessarily defined, and we really wanted to emphasize that the purpose of this policy for this board is to make sure that this is a fair and unbiased process. And I also wanted to visit the fact that originally we had the grievance committee as a committee that would hear grievances. But after discussing with Joe, our attorney, it's been discovered that if we do that, then really all we're doing is adding a step to the process, because people have the right to appeal to the whole board anyway. So if we hear it, then they don't agree, they're just going to go to the next step, and it just adds time to the process. So we didn't put in the step where the grievance committee will hear the process. This particular process is based on the policies that Joe provided. We did tweak it a little bit based on our needs. Mainly, we added reasonable accommodation parameters. Also, we added a conflict of interest clause because we felt it was very important, especially based on our board history, to have a conflict of interest clause in there. I wanted to thank Drew and Alicia and Blake for their help with this policy, and also Joe and Kayla, because we also discussed that. One of the things that you may see that may stick out for you, at least it did for me, is that we did cut down the number of days from 15 in some instances to 10. So the original policy had 15 days for one part, 10 days for another part, 15 days for another part. It was really somewhat confusing. So we made it a uniform 10 days, but to make that process easier, rather than requiring a in-person or physical submission of paper, we have allowed a means to do an electronic filing. Another main difference is that we have standardized the process for forms. While the old policy allowed people to do any kind of submission any kind of way, the new policy requires a specific form. We have a template for the form. We didn't attach it to the policy, but it Joe's template. And there's a template for the filing of a complaint or grievance, and then there's a template for an appeal. The policy is very specific. It's very spelled out. It has definitions of what a day actually means, when the time actually starts, when you begin to count, etc. So I think we have done our best to make it as fair and unbiased as possible. I did want to mention, and I forgot to, I apologize, that there is a, in the recuse process, it does state that if a member, for whatever reason, who has a conflict of interest that refuses to recuse themselves, there is a obligation of the board to vote on whether to recuse them. So,
Nice.
any questions? Go ahead.
First question is probably real easy. Where will the form
I
reside?
can't hear you.
First question is pretty easy. Where will the form reside?
Oh, that's a good question. So we discussed it, Kayla and I, and the group, and this policy will actually be uniform for all of them. So we're going to have one grievance policy for the school. So it's going to be the same grievance policy for the students, the teachers, staff, and it will all be on our website. So people can get the form directly from the website. And if they need an accommodation, they can call.
Great. Second question, and I just may not know the nuances of the wording, but in the section called Freedom from Retaliation, it states, neither UME prep nor any school employee shall unlawfully retaliate against a complainant. And I was just curious about that, whether it should just be nor any school employee shall retaliate. I don't know, is there a lawful way to retaliate? That's the question I was curious about.
We should ask a lawyer.
Yeah, that came from the lawyer. Go ahead, Joe.
People have various definitions of retaliate. You were mean to me, therefore you're retaliating, is what we often see. But unlawfully retaliate means they're in a protected status, like they've asserted FMLA rights, they've asserted disability rights, they're in a protected class like race, ethnicity, national origin, they've blown the whistle on something that's protected. So that's what unlawfully retaliate means. Otherwise, if we just say retaliate, what we've seen in other schools and why we have unlawfully retaliate is people that feel like they're being not heard, or you're being mean to me, that therefore you're retaliating, or their boss is just being strict and saying, no, you need to do this. Oh, you're being very strict to me, you're retaliating because I have a complaint. So that's why we say unlawfully, is to cut through the chafe. You'll see it otherwise.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is the world we live in.
Other questions, concerns, comments? Good job. Yeah, thank you. It was a team effort. So, and Joe was very instrumental.
No, I just gave you all our starter document. Y'all made it sing. And improved it. I'm taking the accommodation language for our general form now, so that's.
Well, I think this takes something that was very unclear and has made it very clear. And it makes a big statement to our teachers, to our faculty, to our parents, that we as a board care. And there is a formal process that they can take, and it's present and known. So I think it's very important. Any further discussion on the grievance process that Susan has laid out for us? Okay, with that in mind, this does require a vote to approve this formal grievance process. So is there a motion on the table?
Yes, I move that we as written, the grievance process that has come from.
Okay, thank you, Scott. We do have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? Okay, Jolene, you just beat it, so you get it. All right, so all in favor of approving the grievance process that has been given and laid out to us by the Grievance Committee, please say aye.
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 All right, the ayes have it. It is approved. Thank you, Susan. Great job. Committee in process right there. Fantastic. All right, so we are now going to turn to Mr. Greg Burleson, who's going to give us a Finance Committee just information update.
Yeah, just a real quick information. So the Finance Committee, we're in the process of reviewing the teacher pay and incentives for next year. And we hope that this time next month, we'll be able to present more information, give you a plan and schedule for all that. Quick, short, but hopefully we'll have some good stuff next week.
That's exciting, Greg. Thank you. We're excited to learn more about that. Thank you, sir.
Can I ask that one of the things that we considered be the addition of the short-term disability piece that Joe was mentioning, and I agree is very helpful. Just a comment.
Yeah, I think that's something we can look at. As I was sitting here thinking, I'm positive that we're not paying that now. That's an elective policy.
Yeah, it's optional.
Yeah, it's optional. I said I didn't know, but I do know.
Yeah, I mean, I know for us, I don't know the difference between corporate and education, but I know for us, it's not a huge expense but it is a huge benefit for employees that I think it would set us apart to some degree. And I think it would give the teachers peace of mind and staff.
Yeah, we'll definitely take a look at that.
Yeah. Thank you, Susan. Okay. At this time, we are going to turn it to Mrs. McBain, who's going to share some about her board record keeping plan. So.
Okay, yeah, so met with Ginger and we had lots of ideas. It brought up some other items, ran some things by Drew, and there's more information that we'll put together for a future date. But for today, what I wanted to run by you guys is we have this huge, awesome binder that she has created, and it's killed a lot of trees. And of course, some of the information is very helpful. We take notes. We like to have it paper copy, but some of the information we're never going to look at again. And of course, there's certain legal requirements to keep a hard copy, but we don't all have to have a hard copy of everything. And so this brought up, what do you guys want to do? Basically, how much paper do you want to have? So the current process is it's emailed ahead of time so that we can review it. Then we have the paper stacked for us when we come in. Once we maneuver to where under the Google Drive, there's a folder for each, I keep wanting to say session, for each meeting. And then we can just, view it there. We could theoretically, actually, in reality, we could just all bring our computers and not have any hard copies. We could have some kind of combination, like if you want the minutes written, actually printed out, or we could request have a deadline by this date, request the Ginger printed out if you're one of those hard copy type people. So what do you guys want to do? And she did check with Joe. We were like, can we have the computers? And yes, not only is it acceptable, but it is also common practice. So this is the way of the world.
Can we have them in closed session? But there was some comment about not having electronic.
Great question. Can we have them in closed session, sir?
Yes, the electronic devices.
Yes.
And you just need to make sure no one's recording.
Okay.
Kind of an honor code or.
Great question.
Yeah. So do we have notebooks for the school that we could supply during the meeting that has everything in it, and then turn them back in at the end of the meeting? We still get our hard copies on the computer, but the other stuff would be still part of the school, the ones the kids have, the have extra.
Chromebook?
Oh, you mean, oh, Chromebooks.
We can have at the meetings, and then we can leave them here, we don't have to take them.
I
If you
can't
can
see
have them
Colin
set up.
because
He's a shadow to me.
Colin
Everything better.
Colin is saying yes,
That way
that
they
we can
can
provide
just set up a
Chromebooks.
meeting on each one for each week, each month. And we just leave them here and our hard copies or electronic copies are.
That's pretty common. A lot of boards will do that. They'll have a Chromebook or a tablet or something.
We don't
Do they leave
bring
them?
ours
Yeah.
outside. I know from
Yeah,
my
that's a good
company,
idea.
They leave them some.
I don't want to bring my company laptop in here.
Yeah. Well, we definitely have enough Chromebooks that we can do that.
Good idea.
So does everybody like that? Does anybody want a paper copy or the option for paper copy of items?
I love electronic.
I love this idea.
Absolutely.
What did she say?
Jenna said she loves this idea.
Yeah.
What?
Jenna said she
For me,
loves this
for the
idea.
agenda, like I'd like to have.
I like the agenda.
I agree.
I can see that too. So maybe hard copy of the agenda only.
Yes.
I like the
Yeah,
agenda.
I can see that too.
Feels good to check stuff.
I would say hard copies of the
Oh,
agenda
yeah.
or anything that's too small to see on the screen. Because
Easy on the
So
screen,
maybe,
you
so
can blow it
go
up.
ahead and.
that's true, that's true.
What'd you say? Yeah, that's.
It's
true.
easier on the screen, you can change
You
it.
have to like
Yeah.
scroll.
So if we go with the Chromebooks so that they would be provided and that would be a part of the processes that would determine when, board members switch on and off. And then the hard copy of the agenda would always be printed. And then also, if you're reading through something and you're like, I just really want to have this in front of me in paper, we could always request and we'll put in a specific date so that Ginger's not running nuts. By the way, the board meeting's in an hour, hope you can print this. No, we want to avoid that stress. So, okay, so Chromebooks have it.
Do we have to use Chrome? If we want to use our own computer, can we use our own computer? Want to bring your own device?
It's like a student.
Yeah.
Are there any cons to using a personal device as far as like making sure things aren't stored in the wrong spot? Or
Not really.
I mean, they're already emailed to us.
The official record is the board book. The issue is if you make any notations on anything in those are still public records. So someone from the paper could say, I'd like X board members' files and their notes from the board meeting. Now you don't have to retain them. There's no retention requirement. If you just write chicken scratch or you make some notes for yourself, you don't have to actually retain it. So delete it away. The official record is the board book. So for that type of, your personal notes that are just for the purpose of that meeting, there's not a retention requirement other than as long as you administratively need it. But you say, well, the meeting's over, I don't need it anymore. If you keep it, you got a public record. So if you don't keep it,
basically leave the agenda here and have it shredded if we're making votes. But we don't
that's
need
what
to
most
use it.
do. You collect it up, Ginger will collect it up at the meeting. Anything you want to leave behind, she collect it up and put through the incinerator.
Our tones are.
So as a general rule, then they would do this. You guys love anything electronic. We can go that direction. That's what we're going to do.
And we can provide Chromebooks for those that wish to not use their own personal device.
I probably, y'all can do this, but the Chromebooks are not very user-friendly for that kind of thing. There may be a tablet that's probably better. I don't know, a lot of our boards have had Chromebooks. They've used the kids' Chromebooks and they complain about it because it's.
Very small screen size.
You are looking
at
a smaller screen
size, yes, and power issues.
How soon would we like this to be effective? And maybe
Well-
Drew, because Drew's going to possibly meet with us. Maybe should we just have this conversation with the three of us first?
Do we need to vote with the finance committee if we're gonna get? I'm just saying, I'm just sitting here thinking if we don't use Chromebooks and we use like a computer, we probably don't have enough computers. Laptops.
How many here would need a secondary device? Greg would. Anybody else need a secondary device?
Basically, everybody except Greg would bring.
So we can find a secondary device.
Sure, yeah. We can definitely do that.
I think your question's fair. I mean, do you got, like, what you're asking is how soon would you want to start this?
Right. Or do we want to just wait until?
Oh, until the next, she's gonna, Jolene's done a lot of work. Next board meeting, she's gonna be showing off her file structure that she has created. So maybe what we could propose, Jolene, is by May, going to April. You guys are good with that?
Is April too aggressive, or would it be easier? It might be easier just to go all electronic.
Well, I don't know that Jolene has her plan in place for doing the digital,
Yeah.
the Google Suite and everything, right?
Yeah, I only invited 2 because I think Scott's gonna be my guinea pig, if that's okay, because he's already sent me some info from the governance and because I've talked with Drew about some stuff. But yeah, I think this just helps because I want to make sure that we're doing what works for everybody.
Yeah, but
So,
May or April.
let's shoot for May. That way
It's a good
April.
timeline. Yeah, it gives us,
And that way we can look
gives
at
us a little
processes
transition.
and rushed. So, okay. That's all.
And I just want to commend you, Jolene, for all the diligence that you're doing. And I think you guys are going to be really impressed when you see the work. She'll do a presentation for all of us next board meetings. Thank you, Jolene. All right. Okay, so at this time, we are going to be going into closed session. Now, I do want to read a few statements just so that we are on track here. First of all, in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, subchapters D and E, Chapter 551, Texas Government Code, the board may enter into closed executive session to deliberate any subject authorized by subchapter D that's listed on the agenda for this meeting. For any closed executive session is convened, the presiding officer will publicly identify the section or sections of the act authorizing the closed executive session. Any final action, decision, or vote on a subject deliberated in closed executive session will be conducted in open session in compliance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. So during the closed session, there are 3 areas that we're looking at. The first is pursuant to Government Code 551.076, campus safety and security. The second is pursuant to Government Code 551.072, discussion of real estate and property expansion amendment. And then the third is pursuant to Government Code 551.074, superintendent contract. Now, on the advice of counsel, as we're going into closed session and talking through Government Code 551.071 and 551.074 to get legal advice regarding the compensation proposal for the superintendent/CEO. If any board members have any actual or potential conflict of interest, please let me know so that you can be excused from that portion of the meeting, and we can note that for the record. So are there any board members that feel they have a conflict of interest for that superintendent/CEO compensation discussion? Okay, that's duly noted. And I also want to note for the record that during that discussion, Ms. Kayla Smith will be excused from closed session as well. All right, we will now convene into closed session. It is, I can't see it, guys. 7:20 p.m. and we are now going into closed session. We're now resuming open session and the time is 9:23 p.m. No action occurred in closed session. So in closed session, we received advice from our legal counsel on TEA and IRS requirements for executive compensation. Legal counsel also provided us a comparability study that looked up at compensation levels nationally in Texas and in our region for peer organizations made up of public schools of similar size to UME Prep. I would like to invite the committee to briefly review its findings for the board here in open session, and I'm going to invite Ms. Jolene McBain to share her findings.
In view of Kayla Smith's current contract expiring April 1st, 2021, the executive team recommends her current compensation be adjusted to come in line with strong district academic and financial performance, high quality and quantity of duties performed, and current comparability data considering education peer organizations. I'll take a moment to briefly review each reason stated. Strong district academic and financial performance. The following are ratings of the district performance under the leadership of Kayla Smith. Overall district rating, A. Student achievement domain rating, A. School progress domain rating, B. Closing the gaps domain rating, A. Charter first financial integrity rating, A. Number 2, high quality and quantity of duties performed. We find Kayla Smith to be both highly qualified and a proven leader at UME Prep. She holds a master's in education and has completed her superintendent certification. She has 42 years experience in education, including 6 years at UME Prep, with 3 of them being as a superintendent. The following are just some examples of Kayla Smith's job duties performed and skills demonstrated in the role of superintendent. Consistently demonstrated the character qualities outlined in the school charter, has exceptional skills in collaborating with the administrative team, board members, staff, teachers, and parents, as evidenced by high rate of faculty retention, significantly higher than state averages, and multiple written letters of support from teachers and parents. She's raised the standard for academics by implementing things such as a solid response to intervention process and high school study hall. She's added quality educational professionals to advance the school in areas such as college and career advising, counseling, academic advising, and effective teaching of math and science. She's contributed meaningful enhancements to the ESL program, various forms of tutoring, and actions contributing to improved classroom grades. She has overseen a myriad of improvements in school curriculum, including increasing high school dual credit classes, adding STEM and robotics for 5th through 8th graders, and implementing Saxon phonics for early elementary. She served as a gracious and courageous and stable leader who has worked tirelessly and unwaveringly in her commitment to staff, scholars, and families throughout the COVID-19 and weather-related crises. And number 3, current comparability data considering education peer organizations. In evaluating current comparability data, we examined 8 surrounding peer charter schools and discovered the following information. The average superintendent compensation was $190,222.13. When removing the 2 alternative schools in the peer group, the average compensation was $176,500. Only 2 of the 8 schools examined had a district grade of 8, and half of them had a C or lower. So in conclusion, in view of our school's strong district academic and financial performance, Kayla Smith's high qualifications and quality of duties performed, and current comparability data considering education peer organizations, the executive team believes the proposed new superintendent contract is fair, reasonable, and deserved.
Thank you, Jolene. Excellent. So I would like to ask Mr. Joe Hoffer at this time, who is our legal counsel, to provide for the record what the data the provided comparability study provides.
Yes, board, in the closed session, we provided you our advisory report, and we did look at national data and state data and your metropolitan statistical area data, the Dallas region. This is data that is pulled from 990 filings directly from the IRS. We subscribe to the IRS for their data tables. And we found that we want to be between the 50th and 75th percentile looking at peer organizations. Peer organizations include school districts, charter schools, education-related nonprofits. And it's our opinion that the compensation the committee is recommending is within the appropriate range of reasonableness, and that we need to walk through certain steps to avail the board of what the IRS calls a rebuttable presumption of reasonableness under the Internal Revenue Code, section 4958. I did confirm that, 4958.
All right.
And so we're going to walk through that process. This board is doing that by receiving the comparability data, by doing it in advance. We note that Ms. Smith was not involved in any deliberations, either by the committee or by this board. So you did it with a disinterested board without any conflicts of interest. And you're creating that documentation right now. And those are the steps necessary to take advantage of what the IRS gives us as guidelines. and the TEA process for determining a fair salary that's fair and reasonable and that is not above fair market value.
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate that. And I believe that you've done this, but you walked us through the IRS and TEA legal requirements for record?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let the record reflect that the board obtained and is relying on appropriate comparability data, that the board is approving total compensation in advance of its effectiveness, and doing so without any persons with an actual or potential conflict of interest involved in deliberations or action. The board is hereby documenting the basis for compensation actions taken for the position of superintendent CEO. Again, if any board members have a conflict of interest, please identify and abstain from voting. With that being said, do I have a motion?
Yes, I would move that the Board of Directors of UME Prep approve the contract proposed for the superintendent/CEO and finds that the compensation package offered to the superintendent CEO is fair, reasonable, and not excessive, and appropriately in line with the individual's education, experience, prior salary history, job duties actually performed, and what a typical person with similar skills, experience, and job duties would earn.
Okay, so thank you, Scott. We do have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, David. So all in favor of approving the proposed compensation package offered to the superintendent CEO, Kayla Smith, please say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. It is unanimous and the motion passes. All right, congratulations, Kayla.
Thank you.
Very excited for you. With that in mind, is there any further business to be discussed? Doesn't look like there is. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
All right. Thank you, sir. David has moved that we adjourn. Do I have a second? We have a second with Alicia. All in favor of adjourning tonight's board meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We are officially adjourned.